Welcome back to the Glaze Trios oil painting tutorial. We are in class 19 of the large canvas painting, Ardhanareeshwarar painting, half man, half woman, uh, God. We have been working on this painting for a while now, and we started with, so this is a small little summary. We started with our first layer, which was a wash kind of. Then we moved on to references. We understood references. Then we moved on to blocking, filling. Um, After we had done the superstructure on the canvas, then we moved on to the layer three. That was giving a little bit of depth. Now we are working on layer four, which is working even more on the depth. What is the difference that we are seeing between the layer 3 and 4? In layer 3, we might have just played around with just two tonalities, yeah. But in layer 4, you see that we blend in little more than just two. We blend in a third tonality, or directly blending in few more colors to give that effect and so on. So sort of enhancing the depth and the dimension. That's what is going on. So in the last session, what we did was to work on um, the rest of the clothing, the tiger fur that Shiva is wearing, and also the blouse. We did a little bit, and then we went on to working a little bit on the snake as well, isn't it? So we did that. Um, Once we did that, we did start a little bit with the gold color, and that's where we made a stop. We started with the jewelry on the gold color. We made a stop, and today's session is going to be definitely on the jewelry. But before we get to that, we will, like I had already mentioned in the previous session, we'll start with the animal first, one of the animals first. So we'll do the bull, and then we will move on to the jewelry. Yeah, so that's what is the plan for today. In terms of the materials, no big change. I'm going to start with titanium white, but definitely there will be some tonalities that you will get to see. And I will be using yellow ochre, vermilion, a little bit, and then maybe burnt umber and ivory black also, but not too much, not to a major extent. So you will see that the colors are almost on the whitish side, but we will change tonalities ever so lightly to show the pink and show the yellow ochre and so on, grayish tonalities, whatever. Yeah, we will try to do all that. Um, okay, so that's the plan for today. I am going to move this camera to the front and bring this up. So the focus is on the animal now. This time it's also about a little more detail. We will start with the detail of the animal, especially the eye. And if you looked at the references, the main reference that we try to use in this case to build this bull superstructure was coming from the second reference, isn't it? This is what we had used. But in this, the eye seems to be, it's appearing good, but it could be even more clear. I like the eye structure that is clearly defined in this reference number 3. The first reference does not have the animal, facing us, coming close to us, so we cannot use this. But this one, can you see? Though the direction is different, can you see the way the eye is? It's so lively there. Mhm. You can feel the animal there. So we will try to work on this first before we get onto the body as such. So to do that, I am going to use first the zero brush, and I will take a bit of titanium white to first go over the section, bringing it a little more closer, going over the section that is, yeah. So the section of the eye inside the, where the eyeball is. We don't have the clarity. I think I am missing, at least in my case. I would like to put that, define that ever so lightly. So I'm just putting in that space for the, eye. Okay, so this is helping me place that space. And also, I would do one more thing, that is that there is this upper eyelid that we do not see much of. So I'm going to use the white to hide a little bit of the top zone, because we are going to redo it. At least in my case, I want to redo it nicely. Yeah. So I'm just covering it so we can come back to this. Yeah. And when I want to redo it, I would use maybe a bluish color tonality. Yeah. So I'm looking for, if I have a bit of Prussian blue left in my palette, which is not, so I might take a tad bit of Prussian blue to work with. Um, so maybe yes, no. There seems to be a little, because I don't need to. I'm trying to use what is there in my palette. But if you want to take out, take a very minor piece of it, and um, ever so lightly. If you see what I'm doing here, I have a tiny bit of Prussian blue left over that I'm going to use. And I want to be very, very light with my move here, blending in that blue on the upper eyelid and making a curve out of it. So you see that I have done this. Starts looking like a curve there. Hmm? And I also understand that I should make a stop in this here. This has come a little too far in this case, yeah? We'll have to make a stop there as well, yeah? Somehow there is a proportion error. It has to stop somewhere over here. Mhm. So I will have to do a little more of hiding. I'm going to wipe off the blue again, taking a bit more of the titanium white and going over this blue one more time so I could lighten it, kind of. Not worried about the areas as such. I'm going to come back to that shortly. So done that. Wiping off again to take some pure titanium white so I could hide a little bit of this, because like I said, there was a slight proportion error that I noticed here. Now it is looking fair enough. So ready to go back to the um, ivory black and burnt umber mixture that I usually love to keep ready. Um, yeah, this is something that you must have now by now figured out why I'm going to, yes, use this for the eye. So I'm going to go into that areas one more time, make that circle properly done. Yes. I'll wipe off some excess on the sides because I don't need that. And I will ever so lightly give that edge. Now it's going to blend with that white and the blue that we created on the top of it, so it will thin down a bit, but that's perfectly what I would need. I want it slightly softer, not so what do you call, strongly coming up. So I've done that on this side. So the top side of the eye seems to be okay. um, the bottom side of the eye here, I think before I get on to that, I just noticed but we need one more correction, so I'm just using the titanium white, going back, I'm wiping the brush. That's also something that's going on, yeah, simultaneously. So I'm just wiping off that excess line there. That's causing me slight trouble because you cannot see too much of that there. So I'm back with the black and burnt umber. Able to create that sharp image now, and can do that for the under eye here as well, ever so lightly. I'm building that upper eye line to go slightly away and come back here like a line here. He begins to look nice. I'm using a bit of that color again to just give a highlight, not too much. I'd want to blend it directly, so I'm not doing too much of it. I'm blending it directly there on the eye, like this. Yes. So I have that covered. Now I'm going to go back to taking titanium white in my tip. I'm going to give the eye the light. All right, so we did that. Since I'm there with the brighter tonality, that is the burnt umber black, going over that again. But here, can you see the way there is this fold and the shine that is coming up? So we did quite a bit of monotone, and we can do a little more here. So I am going to give that curve a nice, good, darker tonality. And then, yes, let's blend a little bit of titanium white there, where do we want to blend. So there is this upper nostril, side of the area that has to have this very simple strokes that's catching light. And then there is this bottom area that's also having a little bit of this. We have a bit more of the tone given here. We can use it on the horn as well. I'm going to fill the horn nicely with the burnt umber black. One more time. Lovely shade, making sure that it's filled in nicely. And I will take the titanium white a little bit. So I want to show the light catching. Okay, I've got too much in my tip of my brush. I'm just cleaning that up. I am going to just show this light catching here. Nice. And then there is light catching here as well, isn't it? So ever so lightly, not too much, ever so lightly you give that effect. Yes. So we have managed that. So the eyes look good enough to me. I want to do the under eye also ever so lightly. Under eye doesn't have too much of effect there, but I want to have that titanium white um, possibly going around underneath ever so lightly, and maybe a bit of this Prussian blue also added, not too much, just so lightly. Here we don't see much of that under eye. I would like to give that here. Mhm. So we have managed that, and I'm feeling that it looks slightly better than what it did. So we are ready to move on to some of the major, body ranges to work on that. So let's take some titanium white, and I will show you what I'm doing right here. So this is something you might have already noticed or have guessed that I could do, is that I take a part of the titanium white and I keep it ready, mixing a little bit of yellow ochre. So it is still looking on the white range, but it doesn't look like titanium white anymore. So that's one thing I usually like to have. So it doesn't look totally like titanium white anymore, and I will use this safely around in many of the parts. And when I need to add the pinkish effect, I will take a bit of vermilion. And this time I'm not going to mix anything and keep ready. I will blend directly on top of it. And the same thing I'm going to do, adding a little bit of burnt umber or uh, ivory black. Both are here. These three colors are going to go in directly, wherever needed. So that's what is going to happen. So the major color being, yes, titanium white mixed with a bit of yellow ochre. So it's on the light, very, very light browny side, but it still looks white. Huh? I don't want it to look titanium white. I'm starting with the face, filling that in ever so lightly. And since I did the eye, I'm being very careful. The Remember, it is white on white, so it's a little difficult for us to figure out where we have painted and where not. So just don't lose the concentration. Go for one place at a time and fill everything. Leave it just like that. If you are confused that okay, you might fill in wrong places or so, without mixing the color right away. Let's do this all white area and then come back and do the colors also. So I have done this. Now I am filling in a bit on the neck area. So I have left that space in between wherever I see the gray. Have left that space and I'm just going on using that um, titanium white mixed with the yellow ochre in all the other places. I'm just going around filling it in. I hope this is dry, or I should be very careful coming close to Shiva's clothing because that could be slightly wet. Mm, I'm just filling in circular motion, filling this minute details in. Yes. And let me move the It's further up here where we are working on the body of the animal, coming down. So I haven't touched those places where there is possibly, a bit of pink or bit of gray added there. I haven't done that. Filling this in. So it's not looking like titanium white anymore. The color is shifted ever so lightly. And that's what I wanted, yeah. Coming down to the leg. We have only two of the front legs represented here in the picture, which is fine. We imagine, the other two are right behind Shiva Shakti. And yeah, is that the leg of the cow or the lion? That's another question to be answered. So this is fully filled in now, and we are ready to blend in colors. To start with the coloring, I am going to start with the vermilion a little bit. So I'm just taking the vermilion in my tip of the brush, taking the excess out. So there is vermilion here, and I'm going to blend that in here. Taking the same mixed white, it blends well. And look at the way it's blending now versus what we did previously. Previously, what we did, it shows, the line shows. Right now, it's blending even better. Yeah, very nicely. And I'm using the same tonality here to blend in. Oh, okay. So I haven't showed you this. So this is exactly where the blending happened. Exactly on the spot. And now I'm blending this ever so lightly on the okay. So I'm going to again blend a little bit of that vermilion, tiny bit of it here in the neck area. So blending it ever so lightly now. The way we blend it is that, the strokes don't appear very strong the way they did in the previous layer 3. Huh? So make it smooth, really smooth. I'm taking that here as well. I am not at all using oil. Whatever I have here on the palette seems to be good enough. So I'm not thinking of using oil at all. So I think the pink is just blending in ever so lightly here and giving that peach effect. In those places, the under the eye, the space under the eye, right close to the mouth. So I've done all that. Now all I need to blend is, yes, a little bit of burnt umber will help. But the same way, it's only on the tip. I haven't changed the brush. I'm going to go over that gray tonality that we made in the beginning in one of our layers. Blend this again ever so lightly. See how good this is. You can take a bit of black if you want to give a core, a dark, nice touch there to darken in some places. But just be careful with it. We don't want to spoil it. So ever so lightly try to give that effect there. That goes well. And I'm going back to the burnt umber shades that I'm going to add on the ears. So I'm just drawing all these lines first, and I'm not even bothering about the way it is or the details of it yet. I will come back to it. Okay, so there you go. I'm just marking all those nice, contours with the burnt umber, but I'm going to blend them in ever so lightly very soon. Yes. So that's the core area. Wherever I wanted, I have drawn it, and maybe a little bit under the eye. Here, can you see this section? That's core. All this. Coming close to the leg. Right, yeah. Right there, right there. Yes, right there. So we have missed the hood, isn't it? With the heel. So that can also be, I am going back to the small zero brush to use my burnt umber mixed with black to do one more lining, one more coat of that darker shade, and I want to use the titanium white to blend it in on the leg. Yeah. So I'm just putting that here. And then I will take a bit of titanium white to blend it in. Yes. I guess I have excess, so taking it away and pulling in the line. Blending that in ever so nicely and beautiful. So right now I'm going to go back to all those sections one more time. We need blending, isn't it? So starting with the ear first. Blending in ever so lightly, ever so softly. Yeah. So the color blends totally well now. Because what did we do? The light magic that we did is that we blended yellow ochre there with the white, and now that's going to speak so well here. So we have this nice folds that are going to just gel well ever so lightly. Blend it nicely, yeah? Smooth. Good. Here, let's do the... We were still working on the neck area. I'm just adding a little bit of stroke here because the other side seems to be totally white and I want it slightly shaded. So I'm just balancing it. And yeah, I'm not even looking at the picture now. So I'm just trying to use my own thoughts to see, is it sinking well? Is the color sinking well there? Or is it comfortable there? Or should I highlight a little more or so? So use your own judgment if you can. If not, of course, we can always go back to the references. So there we go. We have this part also nicely covered. I'm coming close to the thigh area, so therefore it's going to be this leg now. blending it ever so nicely, softly towards the contours. It blends with that pink also, the vermilion that we make, so it also blends and it looks so beautiful. Yeah. So let's go down here further so you can see a little more of this blending here. And then let's do the same on the other leg as well. It's kind of smoothened now, yeah? Further smoothened. Looks perfect. One more space. I want to build it in even further. Beautiful. So okay, I'm looking at this place really close to the eye again. I'm going up here and I'm blending this one more time closely. Maybe I will need a little more of the vermilion to blend this nicely. This looks fair enough. And just on top of the nose area, maybe I would need a little more of the titanium white to brighten up a little bit. And yes, looks fair enough. Just increasing the tonality here slightly, brightening up the with the titanium white here. Mhm. This looks fair enough. I'm ready for a bit of ivory black blending. We did it a little bit on the on the ear, I think, or maybe on the back of the bowl. So yeah, I'm just gonna give a tiny tinge of this black. Yeah, we did it on this ear. We did not do this ear. Just giving it a very slight push only on this side, where the light isn't catching. So I'm just darkening up and ever so lightly here. And again here. Blend nicely. Guess you'll hear me saying that again and again and again, but it's just so that you don't forget to do that. Okay, on the leg. Also, I'm just going bold with the black a little bit here. Yeah, nice. Let's blend this, but I want to wipe a little bit because that's excess paint in my brush. Wiping it and blending it again. Nice. Beautiful legs. Okay. Right here is that black going on the leg, so it looks perfect now. Yes. I guess we are now, in a way, um, done with the cow as well, as far as the layer 4 is concerned. We have to work on the jewelry again, and we will continue to come back here also for the jewelry here with the animal side. Yeah. So I am going to move back, picking up the gold color. We talked about it briefly in the last class. It looks almost like yellow ochre. So if you have yellow ochre, cadmium orange or something, it will also help in the process to do this. If not, since we are here on the cow's base, I'm going to show you. So in the last class, you saw how I used the yellow ochre and cadmium orange to first fill in one of the jewelry, all the jewelry areas, and then use the um, mm, gold, light gold. Today, I'm going to show you another variety, another approach to this. This is a direct filling. So when I'm going to fill in directly, what I'm going to do is to load the brush with the paint. So I'm going to use the zero brush continually. So I'm loading the brush with gold color, and you will see me going over that tip of the bull's horn. That's in gold. So I'm actually loading a little more of the paint here. This is going to create some disturbance for me when I work on the mountain though. But I think I will manage. So this is the downside of it when you're loading paint. So I'm loading paint, and look at the way I'm dropping this paint. I'm going to also bring the camera even more closer to you, to the body of the canvas. So you see that this is actually loaded. Can you see that it's on top of the body of the canvas? So it's not a painting way of doing it. I'm loading it because I want to give it the effect that it is looking like gold there. And then it'll be easier for me to work on the details of the jewelry later point. So this is one style that I would do. Then many ways to approach this. Yeah, there isn't a single best approach. So any which ways you can actually plain fill it. But all these suggestive motifs kind of that you're creating will give a nice effect of gold. Only downside is that this takes a while for you to for the paint to dry, especially if you're not using any faster drying medium. That's the downside of it, but otherwise it's a good process to work with. It gives an effect of there is something there. Can you already see that it's shining? Yeah. And you can actually, without using this, oh, now I notice. There is an error. Did you notice? Okay, I think it's me. I didn't notice. There is this missing white spot. I'm going to go back taking that titanium white mixed with yellow ochre and go into the zone, filling it nicely because that's one section. It looks like it should be the body of the animal. Huh? Uh, and I'm just going to add a little bit of make me gray. That is really not visible for me here. So it becomes a part of the body here. Okay, that was bonus. So I fixed it. Now going back to the gold, and we do the same thing on everything that is on the jewelry side of it. So I'm just dropping these, so leaving these like dots, patterns on those jewelry kind of arrangements that are placed on the body of the animal. Mhm. Okay. This is done here, and you see that I will bring it down further and push it also up here, so it will come out of the body of the animal slightly, so it shows like it is, circling the body of the animal. And there's another way to darken this up. How do we darken this up or lighten this up? You can add white a little bit to lighten up this gold color, and also the opposite, the burnt umber would do to darken up. Yes, I'm not doing anything right away. I'm just going to fill it in and show you. This is looking maybe flat, yeah, because the colors are same, but we can give dimensions ever so lightly in a short while from now. So let's, we are looking good with the jewelry of the bull. Let's get it done before we go to the jewelry of Shakti. So I'm doing the same thing here. There's this big, nice, thick chain that the bull is wearing. We're going to just finish that and then come down to the nice, beautiful bell. Look at the way it's coming up, it's already shining, and I'm doing it without mixing white or um, black or burnt umber, so there is no lightness or darkness to it. It's all looking flat in a way, but the color itself is so good, and it will place itself well with the dimensions that we are doing. Yeah, so we can play around with it really nicely with this color. I really like um, this gold. Like I said before, I didn't really plan that I will use this gold color always, but the sort of pictures that I was painting, all this needed some jewelry work or something like that, and somehow I felt that when I loaded the paint and showed it like this, it started giving that effect of gold jewelry. Yeah. So I'm going to take a little bit more of the gold. We're going to need it. Yeah. So I'm going to fill this nice, beautiful bell as well with the same thickness. So it looks now, in a monotone, mono color. So to this, if we add a bit of burnt umber on the side of it and touch it, it turns darker here. You don't need too much of it. The smaller you do, it's easier to show the shade. You can also mix and keep ready and blend or put things, put the tonalities accordingly in places where you want to show darkness or something like that. Yeah, for me, I think this helps already, so I'm not going to work too much towards, the darkness effect. I'm just adding burnt umber in some of the places to just highlight the darkness, and it's helping already for me. Yeah. The same thing here on the head as well. Good. Fantastic. So I'm getting that effect already. So this is good enough for me. I'm happy with the structure right now. We will develop this further, but reminding you on this that it's not going to get dry so soon. We might come back to the wet paint because we just loaded paint. We did not just paint away. Yeah. I'm going to come back from the in the lower part of the sari line here. Silk in the clothing, it doesn't need to be coming out, popping out so sharply like this. What we did with the jewelry of the cow or the bull, but a little bit giving that effect of some silk clothing there. Hmm. So that was easy. We are going to go up a little bit. There is the clothing that's got the jewelry effect, the silk effect. Again, make a slight difference between the silk effect um, and the jewelry effect. So what I tend to do is that I flatten out a little bit. I make this the jewelry pop out even more. So there is this difference that is caused that, oh, it's still glittering, it is still gold, but it isn't gold jewelry. So that's how I trying to give that difference. So I flatten out the bumps a little bit to help me, create this. And luckily, we have used a little bit of what did we do in the last session? We did use this yellow ochre and cadmium orange to give the base. We did that even for the previous layer, so that's all going to help us in a way get us to the silky effect. Okay, so I'm back very close to the hip line. Just underneath the hip line, there is this sari border that's going to have the silk. Again, I'm flattening it out a little bit. I don't want it to look totally jumping out, popping out like a jewelry. So now we are going to go into the hip area. This is jewelry. What do we do? Yes, load, load, load. And let me tell you, this is a method that I have, happily adapted to, and I'm loving it because of the kind of shapes that it brings. Depending upon the level of detail that you want to work on, maybe you would want to consider a few other approaches. Like, for example, if you're painting realism, then you are thinking of what do you call jewelry designing here, isn't it? So it turns into a jewelry designing episode totally the moment you get into realistic level of details in this kind of artwork. So be careful with that. I am going to the way I suggest or the way I try to paint on all these deities is that I suggest silk, I suggest gold jewelry and so on using all these techniques. So again, this is jewelry part coming up as lumps. There's a lot of lumps that is needed here to fill in, yeah. I'm going to let them come out like small little spots out there. Hmm. Good. So that one worked, and I'm doing the next. Okay, gonna need some more of the gold. Going ahead with the jewelry formations here, giving nice spots. Yes. There's a lot of jewelry that she is wearing, isn't it? Feels like it's going forever, but especially when we are doing dot by dot, it's everything is, so take a break if you want and keep patience. And remember, in between these dots and spots that we are making, there is this clothing that is there. So what is crossing across her chest that's coming is the silk. So try to create that difference, flattening it out. I flattened this out. Again, it's the same color, but then we have flattened it out. Loading gold again here. So let's do a little bit on her jewelry in the hands. This is to be, yeah, this is part of her jewelry. That's a bangle. So I'm going to heap up. Yes, that's a lot. Need to be very careful when we are working on the line. We might disturb it, but yes. Let's come back to the other jewelry here in the hand. Loading this again. Coming to think of it, the background, if we had done it before, it would have been better, I guess, but it's okay. Any which ways, there will be always be a way where we are struggling because we have done one thing first and not the other. So that's a part of the learning. Now there is silk in the cloth that is to be flattened out. That's in her blouse, isn't it? So I've done that. Yeah, there you go. So we are now, we've been moving upwards, isn't it? Where are we? We work on her necklace. It's a pity the line doesn't have much of jewelry. Yeah, but yeah, that makes things simpler for us or not. There's a lot of fur to work with also when it comes to such animals. So loading the paint, loading it here. There's only one gold jewelry that he is wearing, isn't it? Shiva, we will also come to that. Okay, we are doing good. With respect to the timing, that's also fair. And ah, yes, remember to do it slightly a little over the body line because Jewelry also looks like that. When we work on the snake, we'll have a little more of the work there, making him come up like we adjusted him only last class, isn't it? So I'm coming back to the earring here, loading. I've got excess, so just throw it there and okay. So that's how she's looking now. Let's bring the focus close to this earring as well. I don't know if I should flatten it out or make it look. Yeah, I will make it look pop out like a jewelry. Yes, it's not flattened out totally. So I have filled in the earrings here. Going for the crown, I already loaded some of it here. I'm just loading it in sections. I still want those partitions there uh, because I think I will go on to give some slight shades there with the burnt umber in some places. So here I want to just go around making it pop out. And one thing I want to say, if you are trying this for the first time, you might be wondering, oh my God, it's just coming out of the body of the canvas. It's a lot. But if you look at it after a week's time, it might have come down. The heat that you might have created, it would have come down when it dries. So it's not the same. The colors aren't exactly the same a week after. That's also different with every brand. Some of them look similar, some of them look okay, some of them look, even sharper, brighter, like glittering. It depends on how much of, glitter they would have blended with it. I don't know. I'm not an expert at that, but whatever they have, the products look slightly different also, depending upon, where things are. So I'm going to use this gold to go back to the Damaru. I'll make a plain and straight gold impact. Not going to go into loading the gold. I'm just going to sort of fill in the gold, leave it there, and then we will work on some details on it. So it's almost like flattening out the way we flattened it out on the silk clothing. So I am loading a little bit, but I'm flattening it out so it's not total load. Right. This is done, and I'm going to use the same technique for the trident as well. The center of the trident possibly has a jewelry, I think. I'm lazy to open up the reference, but if you've already noticed it, yeah, it's fine. I think I will flatten it out mostly, but in the center of it, I will leave it without flattening it, so it can take some. So why do we load it? Why are we loading like this? After, when we come to the next layer or when we work on the details, we will load, let's say, for example, purple color for purple stone or a vermilion or a green stone or, a white pearl or something. We can load colors like this and put them on top of it, and it'll start looking like There are stones placed in middle of the gold jewelry. So that's why we load it like this. And it really helps somehow, I felt comfortable with the idea of loading like this. And if you might ask, is there any risk? Yeah, yes, there is. We'll have to wait for it to dry long enough, and then you are varnishing it properly before you are sending it to the customer, packing it or such. So be very careful. Bubble top packing. I think I have made one video that is available free in my YouTube channel to go and refer. I'm just going to leave that gold tinge in our other place. It's not too much. Yeah, just leave it there. That's it. So we finished with the gold jewelry layering, and also it's a good time for us to make a stop. Yes. So let's do a stop and take a summary of what we have done today. Yes. So that's where we are. Let's take a look. Moving up, moving down, and further. Wow, lovely. Yes, isn't it? So yes. So that's an amazing part. So what we did today was to work on the pull first. So we started working on the bull, changing the tonality a little bit. It looks almost similar, but then the way it is defined right now, it's even more, nicely defined. And we worked a little bit on the eye. There are eyelashes. I could have done it. I would have done it together with that, but I would prefer that we have it, done like this. Make it sit in the next layer when we do. We'll do some more corrections if we need to that eye, and then when it looks perfectly all right, then we work on the eyelash as well. So we have finished that, and we started with the jewelry. What we did in the last class was a beginning of that, and we looked at another technique of how to fill in the jewelry space. And today we looked at another technique of filling in that same thing. We filled out the jewelry here on the pool, and then we moved on to the jewelry part of Shakti, totally Shakti and Shiva's body. Um, and this is where we also learned how to make a difference between the jewelry and the silk on the cloth. So this is a minor difference, but then we flatten out the gold to give an effect of silk on the cloth versus we make it pop out, when it is jewelry. So we did that. So with this, we'll make a stop. And the next class will be focusing on, we will start again with another animal. So this time we're going to start with our lion that's been waiting for a while. We will work on that, and then we will come back again to the hair. And yeah, the hair part of Shiva Shakti, we haven't worked on it, so we'll come back to that. And what he is wearing, he also is having some sort of accessory. Maybe it's not so glamorous, but he does have something. Let's give him that. And there is a conch we haven't worked on. Uh, and also there is this flower we haven't worked on. So we will do that. If we manage the lion first, then we will come back to all these things. Yes. And what is left in layer 4? Ah, yes. Once we are done with all that, we will come back to see the layer 4. We should have ideally done a little more on the snake. But because I had to do a correction, I had to wait. So we're still not done with the snake. Yeah. So we will work a little bit more on the snake as well, details, and the lion. That's vending. All these small little accessories are pending. background is completely pending. Yes, there is quite a bit to go. I understand that it could be slightly more, challenging for people who are like who haven't done so many long hours. So take it one step at a time. Give it a break and go. Go back to things if you are not very sure. Also, remember to write to me, support at laystudio.dk, especially when you have any questions, concerns. You can send a picture if you think it's really way off the from what we have seen in the references or what you are seeing here in the videos. Do write to me and I will try to help as much as I can, even in a personal call if it's needed via Zoom or Teams. We could also do that. All right. So take care, stay blessed. See you in the next class. Bye bye.